There was a girl who went to my school. Her name was Amy, and she sat next to me at maths class. Amy wore heavy black makeup and a stony look on her face. I don't think I ever saw her smile. Not once. I think about it now, and it makes me sad. She dressed differently than everyone else. She was always a lone figure in black. She was always alone. She never said anything to anyone, not even the teacher. Never took notes either, just sat there and stared at the blackboard. Don't know if she was even listening, even. She took her homework and tests back silently and stonily, pushing them in her black bag immediately. She ignored the rest of us comparing marks with our friends and simply continued staring at the board. Amy always wore long sleeves, even in the summer when everyone was moaning about the heat. I never knew why this was, until one day when I glanced over as she lifted her sleeve to scratch her arm. There were deep gashes all over it. I quickly looked away, embarrassed at having seen such a awful expression of pain. Some of them were still scabbing over. I never did talk to her about it. The next year, she sat next to me again, in English. One day, Amy wasn't at school. I didn't think much of it at the time. I had my own worries, my own friends to laugh with and talk to and cry to when I was sad. The next day, Amy wasn't at school again, and something in the back of my head wouldn't leave her alone. So I went to the front office after school. I told my friends I'd catch up with them, and I went to the office alone. The secretary was nice, old lady who was willing to help you with whatever you needed. I asked her where Amy was. The secretary seemed surprised and looked around the office, then at me with sad eyes. She said Amy had killed herself 2 days ago. The funeral was the next day if I wanted to go, and had I been friends with Amy, was this a shock? I thanked her, said no, I wasn't really friends with her. And yes, it was a shock. Then I walked out of the office in silence. I did stop by the wake that evening, though the funeral I didn't think I could bear. I stared at Amy, lying in her mahogany casket, with her eyes peacefully closed and hands folded lightly on her lap. There was no one else around me. Not really. The world faded to just me and Amy. I projected my thoughts to her, thinking that wherever she was now, maybe she could hear the mind of a simple secondary school girl. I was sorry I hadn't taken the time to talk to her. Ever. I was sorry she had to endure such pain. Pain that I knew about, but did nothing to alleviate. I was sorry she was always alone and hopeless.